top law enforcers want to restore the public trust, but can they? On the weekend of October 10th, 2025, the Stevens County Sheriff's Office and Toccoa PD coordinated a public relations blitz that they dubbed Faith and Blue Weekend. On Sunday, police made visits to local churches and got church leaders to make statements like this.
This weekend, you may not have seen some advertisements or been a part of it yet, but it's Faith and Blue Weekend. And today we just want to appreciate law enforcement. Many of them call this place home, but man, they're so connected to everything we do week in and week out.
The day before, they held a downtown community event with speakers, inflatables, and lots of flashing blue lights. Not surprisingly, it was sparsely attended, mostly by the families of law enforcement because, let's be honest, the people of Toccoa are terrified of them. On Friday, the first day of the PR campaign, Ebenezer Baptist Church hosted a meet and greet event, also sparsely attended, with Sheriff Rusty Fulbright and Toccoa Police Chief Bruce Carlisle, in which they answered community questions. The questions were filtered through a police spokesperson, but the loss of public trust over the Home Depot scandal was front and center. Obviously, the news with Mr. Pipsqueak has been pretty hard on local law enforcement lately, but we appreciate their willingness to reach out to the community. So, in the interest of fairness, we're going to let you hear their unabridged answers to some pertinent questions. Question: what is going to be done to ensure that incidents like that at the Home Depot last year never happen again, and how are you going to hold those involved accountable?
It would be irresponsible for me to talk about anything about any instance that occurred before I became the police chief, because I had no involvement in it. So I have to speak in generalities of what you do when you come into a law enforcement agency as the new head of that agency, and what we have done. Well, you go in and you examine every function of the law enforcement agency, starting from the ground up. And one of the things, and there's a long list, but one of the things that we're involved in now is what's called state certification. And that's dear to my heart because I was served as the chairman of that committee through the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police. And there's about 159 standards in that certification process that deal with every aspect of law enforcement. So you go in and you examine everything that you do, all of your high liability issues. You go in and you rewrite your policies to match those standards. It starts out as a 3-year process. You sign a contract for that 3 years, and then at the end of the 3 years, typically, you're ready for that assessment. Well, we're about a year ahead of that, so at this time next year, we'll be going through our assessment. So what that involves is we will have, it's a two-pronged process. A team comes in of people that we don't know, that comes in and examines every aspect of our law enforcement agency to make sure that we're doing things by the latest and the most effective law enforcement standards throughout the country. So they come in and we have to prove that we're doing those. It's not just a paper, it's not paperwork. You have to prove that you do those standards, that you're living up to it. Then after that, if there's any issues that need to be corrected, we correct it. Then another team comes in after that. And then we go through our actual on-site assessment and we're awarded that state certification. 3 years from that, we will go through the same process again, and we have to show 3 years of compliance with those issues. As far as accountability, I can guarantee you, and you can look at my record since I've been in, that those that do not need to be in law enforcement no longer work for the Toccoa Police Department. And I can tell you this, that it's the wishes of the Peace Officer Standards and Training Council that all department heads and all sheriffs properly document what happens with these officers. And if somebody needs to be fired, they're fired. And then that goes to the post council. They conduct their own investigation to see whether that individual needs to continue in the law enforcement field. I believe that's the only way to hold officers accountable. There's a complete independent investigation, and we will continue to hold officers to a higher standard as long as I'm the police chief.
Okay, so first off, it's helpful that TPD is going through a state certification process, but just to be honest, it's hard to trust that the state is going to actually step in and clean anything up. They tend to investigate their brothers in blue and then give a thumbs up to atrocity. But we've got to stop these "I wasn't in charge when it happened, so I'm not responsible" claims. It's true that Bruce Carlisle wasn't police chief at the time of the Home Depot event, but Bruce Carlisle immediately rehired Donnie Nelson as a city cop after he resigned from the sheriff's office. When the public demanded that Nelson be fired, TPD shut down their Facebook page, and Bruce Carlisle defended Nelson and then allowed him to resign with no consequences. And while about half of the officers who were involved in the Home Depot event resigned and went elsewhere, several of the officers are still hanging around and working for Bruce Carlisle at Toccoa PD and for Rusty Fulbright in the sheriff's office. Jake Palmer, who boxed in Elder Freeman's truck and caused the crash, and who ordered 911 to cut off communication, and who fired the first shot and then beat Elder Freeman black and blue, has faced no consequences. In fact, the city gave him an award under Carlisle's leadership. Palmer was helping Angel Dixon when she put an 11-year-old kid in handcuffs for absolutely no reason. Dixon was sitting right there when Bruce Carlisle answered this question. And Bruce wants to tell us that he fires anyone who needs to be fired? He didn't fire anyone!
If somebody needs to be fired, they're fired.
Sheriff Fulbright was already starting to take over some of the day-to-day operations of the sheriff's office when this happened. Meanwhile, his predecessor, Randy Leg Stomper Shirley, is still living free after he jumped up and down on a restrained subject. Carlisle and Fulbright have immediate knowledge of it. Shirley lives in Stevens County. They're doing nothing about it. And Carlisle's predecessor, Jimmy Mize, who resigned from the city, was immediately hired into the sheriff's office. Brandy Robinson, who apparently wasn't wearing her body cam during the Home Depot event, laughed while Elder Freeman was tased. You can see on her face that she knew Nelson was lying. She also faced no consequences and was present at this Q&A event. Rusty Fulbright's son, Rob Fulbright, works as a jailer and was guarding Freeman's cell for 6 months. And Rusty wants to act like he didn't know anything about it? Rusty, Bruce, I know you're watching. This is not something that happened in the distant past with which your offices had no involvement and which you are powerless to resolve. You haven't taken any steps to fire or discipline anyone. Your people were there, and you're responsible for them. Our reading of the law is that at least someone of the unlucky 13 should be facing serious criminal charges. Elder Freeman, the victim, is still facing false charges, and you haven't publicly called for the DA to dismiss. Whether you make the mess or not, it is your mess to fix, and everyone knows it. And getting some state certification isn't going to fix that. Okay, now it's Sheriff Fulbright's turn. Sheriff, tell us that you know Freeman is innocent, and that your office was responsible without telling us.
Training is, all those are good points, great points. Training is a big key, I think, to learn to, you can't instill a way of thinking in a person. They have to be born with it, first of all, to learn how to treat people, learn how to give grace to people. Training helps knock some of those edges. Training helps to keep things rolling the way they should. Issues, documentation training is great. Policy to help with, I guess, some of the issues we had at the Home Depot. And I can't speak on it as well because it is an open case and we just can't go into too much detail. But to help prevent issues arising, I would say that training is key. Policy is key in our departments. Worn body cam, that's part of our policy. Our officers wear their body cams. If they don't, then they get trouble. Our in-car cameras, they have to be functional. If they're not functional and documenting what's going on, then how are we supposed to protect our people and the citizens as well? So it's key to be able to put this training and policy together to help protect ourselves as well as the public, and maybe to keep things that happened at that location from happening again. And if so, then it will be documented and everybody can see the truth. So.
And this is coming from a man whose office had 6 officers on scene and who hasn't turned over any full body or dash camera videos. Next question. How do you plan to improve police-citizen relations in the years to come?
Well, we've been wide open with that. My number one thing is I have events like this, and I have a full-time officer, Mike Scott. He's our community engagement officer. And I understand that you have to rebuild that trust with the community, and that's what we have done diligently. We've had so many different events. Like I say, that's his full-time job of what he does. He goes out every day. He walks into all of the businesses. He does bank checks every day. We do just this week, we had an event called Pizza with a Popo, where we gave out about 30 pizzas where people come in, and those type of things we've done. All kind of different names. I can't even think of all of them right now, but those types of events, we're out in the schools, we're out at community events. We want to walk the walk and as well as the talk, just like the pastor was saying. We want to get into the community and show them that we mean what we're saying that we're doing. Also having that open door policy where people can call in if they have issues. A lot of times when people have complaints, they don't understand. It's a misunderstanding of what the laws are. And as the sheriff was saying earlier, those body cameras are key. We have so many different things where people come in and they'll say, okay, the first thing I'm going to tell them is I'm going to look at the body camera and invite them in. Come in and look at it. We'll look at it together. And we will completely be transparent. And as you do those things, you see the community trust. The sheriff and I have been involved in a lot of events together. This year, the first time I've heard of folk salad for forever, but me and the sheriff got it tasted. It's pretty doggone good, and I liked it. So we're going to continue doing those things, and we're always open for new suggestions of ways to connect with the community.
Okay, here's a kid in a truck with his hands raised in surrender, and Angel Dixon came inches away from hitting him in the face with a baton through glass. And Bruce thinks that he's going to resolve the community relations problem by handing out pizza with a popo? Sheriff Fulbright is going to do a little better with his answer because he at least recognizes that doing a good job as law enforcement is a more central concern, but still, the focus on hosting community events instead of fixing problems is apparent.
Communication and community involvement. That's what it's all about to build that trust. And like Chief Carlisle was saying, we're trying to get to as many community events as we can get to. We've been busy doing that lately, but we can't forget our main goal, and that's protecting our people and doing law enforcement work. Sometimes that gets in the way of coming to events and being with people. But we do it on duty. We do business checks. We go through the county and stop by the stores, gas stations, convenience stores, some of our farm stores we have out in the county. We drop by to make sure everything's going okay, ask if they have any issues, any problems. Just talking and trying to build that connection with our people.
Final question. How do we, the police, stand in the gap when the community doesn't trust our intentions?
I think we have answered that, but we have to get in front of things when they come out, when incidents do occur, and look, none of us are perfect. We know we make mistakes. We know we miss the mark, and when we do that, we need to get out in front of it. We need to let the community know, hey, we missed the mark on this one. That's why we depend on our local media. We got a great working relationship with our local media. Our social media is a great way of getting those type of things out. When you do that and you're not trying to hide behind anything, and there's a lot of things that come up, and you've seen over this past week, and we've had a lot of occasions where people say, well, you're not doing anything about this. You're not doing anything about that. Well, the sheriff and I and a handful of other people knew that a lot of things were going on, and there's times when you just have to bite your tongue. You know that a lot of things are happening behind the scenes, and you just have to trust that we know what's going on. We're working on things. We got big issues to come up, like you just saw this past week, and that was a major issue that the sheriff and I got together with, as soon as he came in office, I know I started working on it on December the 5th, and there was actually a mandate and that this will be done. But the community has to understand at times we can't give you all of the details because we have ongoing investigations. If we do, that will jeopardize the investigation. But when it's time to come out, we will be as fully transparent and as fully forthcoming as we possibly can.
I was going to say transparency is key to fill that gap of doubt. If we're telling people when we can what we're doing, how we're handling the situation, I think that's better to get out in front of it and let the people know that this is what we're doing, this is what's going on. Because if we don't, Facebook's going to. They're going to add what they think is happening. And it's going to be the furthest thing from the truth. And then everybody on Facebook's going to believe that is the gospel. And it's not. So we have to get out in front of it and make sure that the citizens know this is what we're doing, this is what's taking place, this is what's next. So I think that's the best way to handle that.
Okay, guys, you asked for input from the community, so I'm going to give you my take. It's obvious that you both know that your offices have done a really terrible thing, and that as a result, you've lost the community's trust. But the solutions you're giving out aren't going to restore the trust. You didn't lose the trust because you weren't doing community outreach. This isn't about bounce houses, pizza with a popo, or coffee with a cop. This isn't because my videos being shared on social media are not delivering the truth, or because you failed to get ahead of the story. Your completely dishonest version of events at the Home Depot was published in the newspapers 9 months before the news with Mr. Pipsqueak even started. You aren't going to regain the support of your community by doing more propaganda. You lost the community's trust because your offices did something truly horrible and lied to cover it up. You still won't take responsibility for it, and you aren't doing anything to fix it. That's why you lost the trust. So here's how you can get it back. Consistently do the right thing. Actually hold your people accountable whenever they don't. Stop telling lies to the public, and do whatever you've got to do to end this Home Depot situation and make Elder Freeman whole. Maybe then people will trust you again. Until then, don't expect kids to show up for the bounce houses. So what do you think? Do Rusty Fulbright and Bruce Carlisle have what it takes to restore faith in the local police? Let me know in the comments. I'm Mr. Pipsqueak signing off, and remember, you should never talk to police without your parents and a lawyer present.